Hey guys, welcome to Mr. Smith's Kitchen. Brian, Mr. Smith Kitchen, as always, and every episode. It's Thursday. I thought we'd do some baking. Today I thought we'd do something that just sounded really good. I had some extra bananas laying around starting to turn brown. I was thinking to myself, oh, what can I make? Banana bread's so boring. I think I've even done it before. But I wanted to do something, and I'd actually looked at a banana cake, which I think I mentioned in yesterday's video. And a funny story, every banana cake recipe I found to do involved a food processor in some way, shape, or form. I know, for a cake, which is really weird. And I suppose I could have done it without it, but my food processor, up until this morning, was missing the bowl. So I wish I found it, but by that time I'd already decided to do something else. So long story short, we are going to do a banana bread, but this is going to be a chocolate banana bread with chocolate chips and walnuts and just all kinds of goodness in it. And I thought it'd be fun and something different. Yeah, so we're going to do a chocolate banana bread. It'll be awesome. If you're new to my channel, this is your first video ever, welcome. I'm glad that you stopped by, or even if you're just newer to the channel and only watched a couple videos, I'm still always glad you stopped by. Or if you've been watching me through it all, wow, you're a glutton for punishment, but thanks for keeping up with me, or putting up with me, I should say. To our new subscribers, welcome. I'm glad you subscribed. I hope you get something out of our neighborhood, our community, and get something out of these recipes and the tidbits of probably useless knowledge that I give you along the way. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button if you are new, if you're so inclined. Notification bell is right next to it, lets you know when my videos come out. Thumbs up, thumbs down are great. I didn't used to even mention them, but they do put us out in the algorithm to help grow our community, you know, which is based on food and being good people. And it tells me how I'm doing, whether you like the video, didn't like the video, or you're just trolling me. Either way, I'll take them both. Comments, always welcome. I try to respond to all of them as quickly as possible. And, you know, just be polite. You know, it's okay to disagree. Just think before you type. Yeah, that's it. So anyhow, on to bread. So let me get you down to the counter here, and we're going to start with the dry ingredients, work our way into wet ingredients, talk about a couple of things you may need. We're not using a food processor. We're not using a blender. We're not using a stand mixer, nothing today. Just a whisk, a spoon, and a couple of bowls. I will give you your measurements in cups, teaspoons, tablespoons, and also in grams. So that way everybody, no matter where you are in the world, can play along. So let's get down to the counter and we'll get started. All right, hold on for me 1 second. Okay, we're down here at the counter. Now, a couple things we will need to do before we start making anything. We want to get our oven preheated at 350 degrees Fahrenheit, which I've got mine heated to 350 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 180 degrees Celsius. If you are playing in Celsius realm, you will need a bread pan. This is 9 by 5 by 3. And I simply lined I coated mine with butter, put a piece of parchment paper in the bottom. That way I doubly guarantee it does not stick. Now I will tell you, this was a non-stick pan. Well, it still is non-stick, but see how it's brown on the ends right there? That is from non-stick spray. If you use a non-stick pan, don't use the vegetable spray. Use butter. If you just have a regular old baking pan or a glass one or anything other than the non-stick metal, you can use vegetable spray. Non-stick, use butter, or you end up with the brown golden death. It just bakes on there and it doesn't come off, basically. So you'll need that. You will need a couple of bowls. I've got a large mixing bowl and a medium-sized mixing bowl. This set came in 3, small, medium, and large. I've got a large and a medium. And you'll need a whisk and a spatula or a spoon of some sort. Alright, so we've got our oven going, we've got our bread pan ready, large bowl out. We're going to start with our dry ingredients. Now, well, like I said, give you these in cup measurements and grams. And the first thing I have in my bowl is 1.5 cups or 190 grams of all-purpose flour, just plain old regular flour, nothing fancy, nothing special. To this, I am going to add a 1/4 cup or 25 grams of cocoa powder, unsweetened cocoa powder, not 60%. This is 100%. I am using Dutch processed cocoa. All right, we're going to put that in there. To that, I am going to add 1 cup, 200 grams of granulated plain white sugar. You know, same stuff you'd put in your coffee or your cereal. All right, get that in there. Hold on for me. Just 1 second, real quick. Grab a spoon. This one's wet. Want to get this cocoa out of that's in the bowl. I want nothing left behind. Get that out of there. There we go. Much more better. Man, I know it's just a little bit, but a little bit can make all the difference. All right, so we've got our 190 grams of flour. We've got our 25 grams of Dutch processed cocoa. We've got our 200 grams of sugar. To that, I am going to add a 1/4 teaspoon, 1 gram of baking soda. All right. Yeah, you may not use prep bowls, and that's fine. You don't have to, but the best thing about prep bowls, I mean, other than the fact they create a lot of dishes, which isn't really the best thing, is it allows you to go through your kitchen and make sure you have everything before you start baking your item. So I even use them when we're not together hanging out. All right, so we got our 1/4 teaspoon, 1 gram of baking soda. To that, I'm going to add 1 teaspoon, 4 grams of baking powder. And then I'm going to add a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. I am using kosher salt. All right, and kosher salt, you can buy different grains. You have your coarse, you have your regular, and you have a fine if you can find it. I've never been able to find that one. So what I do is I buy the coarse grain because that's what my store carries, and I grind it up. You know, I have a little mini coffee grinder for coffee beans. I just use that, and I grind up a good portion of my spices that way. Whole spices will last longer if they're whole versus pre-ground. But the salt, if you don't do that, inevitably somebody is going to get a piece of salt in their piece of cake, pie, bread, whatever, and go, oh, I just found some salt. It happens to my wife all the time, Chris, which I'm sure someday you'll meet. If you watch some of my past videos, she's actually in some of them. All right, so we've got those together. So what we're going to do is take a whisk and whisk that up, right? Just like such. Get out some of the big clumps. You know, we don't have to sift anything. You know, that's not necessary. We're going to treat this kind of like a brownie mix. You know, when you make brownies, you don't want to make it super smooth. You don't want to over mix it. You know, that's kind of what makes the brownie. Got that, just like such. And then the last 2 ingredients for the dry, almost everything in this recipe is dry ingredient, is a 1/2 cup, 50 grams of walnuts. You can also use pecans. Use whatever nut you like, or no nuts at all. You don't have to put nuts in it. Now, these are roasted. I toasted them. Okay, I put them in the oven, 350 degrees for about 5 minutes. You should always, when you buy your nuts, walnuts, pecans, almonds, whatever from the grocery store, throw them in the oven for about 5 minutes, all of them at 350. And what that does is it lightly toasts them, and it brings the oils out of them, which is where the flavor is. And you can store them that way, you know, in a baggie. I put mine in a mason jar. And that way, if you do it all at once, do the whole bag or whatever all at once, you don't have to keep doing it over and over again. So we're going to put that in there. And then here's another option as far as what kinds to use is chocolate chips. You can use milk chocolate, white chocolate, semi-sweet. You could even probably put peanut butter chips in this if you'd like. That'd be really good. Or a butterscotch one. Now I'm using milk chocolate, and you're saying to yourself, Brian, those look really pale. And you're right. They are really pale. I did this intentionally. I used these intentionally because I wanted to show you something. These chocolate chips were temperature abuse. Okay, they actually sat up in my cupboard above the sink, and it got hot up in there. And this is what happens when your milk chocolate gets above 72, 74 degrees. Or if it gets super cold, it'll do the same thing. It just discolors it. And it doesn't make them bad. I mean, they're still good. See? You know, it just gives them a different color. That's all. I just didn't want you to ever open up a bag of chips, because semi-sweet will do this too, and go, oh, these aren't any good. They're discolored. No, they're just fine. They're just discolored. And we're going to put those in there. And then we'll just take a spoon, whatever, give this a good stir up. Right? This recipe is so quick and easy. Got that stirred up. We're rocking it out. All right, we will set that aside. Now we're going to move on to our wet ingredients. There's only 4 wet ingredients. First thing we're going to start with is 2 large eggs. It's 100 grams of eggs. Now, that's going to vary. You know, it may be 49 grams per egg. It may be 51 grams per egg. It just really depends on the egg. Eggs are natural, so it's not like we can control it exactly. But for the most part, the USDA does a really good job of ensuring 50 grams of eggs. All right, and we're just going to whisk those up. Right, the next thing we're going to add to this is the last 3 ingredients. We're going to add our bananas in, which is 1.5 cups, about 375-ish grams. You can go over a little bit, under a little bit. I guess it's 382 of ripe bananas. So you know how like your bananas turn brown sitting on the counter? This is a good way to get rid of them. And that's what I did. I mean, the skins were starting to turn brown. And once they did, I was like, oh, I can make something with that. Cake, bread, cookies, whatever. And we'll just get that in there. And then we're going to add a 1/2 cup, 1 stick, 115 grams of butter. And I just melted it down and then let it cool to room temperature. Right? We don't want to pour it in here blazing hot. We'll cook our eggs. We don't want to cook our eggs. And the last ingredient is going to be 1 teaspoon, 4 grams of vanilla, pure vanilla extract. Make sure, if possible, you use a baker's extract. All right, you don't want to use, I mean, you can use whatever vanilla you can afford and buy. Vanilla is expensive, I get it. But a baker's extract is designed for baking. You know, and what it does is, so when you buy vanilla, when you bake with it, vanilla has a tendency to lose its potency and its flavor. So when you buy a baker's vanilla, it is designed, even though it's still just alcohol, you know, like liquor and a vanilla bean soaked for months on end in it, it's designed to hold its flavor for baking, so it doesn't lose its flavor. Imitation vanilla has a really weird, in my opinion, has a really weird taste, so I don't ever recommend it. But we got that mixed together. So now what we're going to do is push that forward, put our whisk in there, grab our dry ingredients and a spatula, and we're just going to make a little spot in the center there to pour our wet into. Right, and like I said, our bananas are a little chunky still, not, you know, anything special. And we're going to pour that in the middle, just like that. Got the train going in the background, the dog barking. This is country living at its finest. And then we're just going to fold this together till it's just incorporated. It's okay if you have a few little lumps in there. You don't want to over mix it at all, by any means. Alright, so let me get this mixed up and then we'll move on to the next step. Alright, so we got that just incorporated. Yeah, and all we did was fold it in. You know, there might be a little small pieces of dry in there somewhere, although I don't think so. But see how it's, you know, got a nice chunky look to it. It smells heavenly already, and we haven't even put it in the oven. Scrape our sides down right quick. Now all we got to do is put it in our bowl, or in our bread pan. Just like, see how quickly this went? I think I spent more time in the introduction than I did actually making this bad boy. Oh, got a little bit of not mixed on the bottom there. That's all right. Just mix it in as we go. Not a big deal. This is a really forgiving recipe. It doesn't require any special tools, no extra equipment, you know, no baking or no mixing electronics, nothing. Just a couple spoons, or at least a spatula and a couple bowls. Get that in there like such. Yep, just like this. Alright, get that in there. Grab my offset spatula. If you don't have one, that's okay. You can just use this spatula. Scrape that off. If you don't own an offset spatula, you most certainly should. They're like the most versatile tool for everything. Cooking, baking, everything. We'll go ahead and get this evened out in the pan, like that. There we are. Excellent. Alright, we are in good shape. So now let's talk about baking. Well, let's talk about how long to bake it for. We've been talking about baking. That's what we're doing. We are going to put this in the oven, and we are going to bake this, like I said, at 350 degrees, because we preset our oven for it. And we're going to go about 55 to 65 minutes. I'm going to go 60 minutes on this, and I'll check it at 55. And how am I going to check it, you ask? Well, we're going to look for something, and then we're going to do something. We're going to look to see, did it rise? Because I guess, according to the directions, according to the recipe, this should rise a little. Unlike some banana breads don't rise because of their density. But we should also be, the most important one is we should be able to stick a toothpick in the center to come out clean, just like all the cakes we've baked in the past, even some of the pies. So at 55 minutes, I will check it with toothpick to make sure it goes, and I'm going to check on it periodically with the light on, but I'm not going to open up the door. Halfway through at 30 minutes, we'll take the pan and we're going to rotate it 180 degrees, right? We're going to make the front the back and the back the front. That way we ensure even baking. So when I come back, we'll pull her out of the oven, talk about what to do next. See you here in just a minute. Okay, timer went off. So all we gotta do is just take her out of the oven, and we'll check it for doneness. I can tell you my whole house smells amazing. I can tell you just because I kept looking in the window to keep an eye on it that it looks fantastic. But there we are, right there. Let me bring it down a little bit. Right there. I mean, just beautiful. So what do we do with it now? Well, first we're going to toothpick test it, make sure it's done. Yeah. Sorry. Set that down. Grab a toothpick real quick. That'll work. Where's that? Poke her down in there. As far as we can get it down in the center and bring it out. And it should look like that. No like crumbs or wet or batter or anything, so we know it's done. So we're going to set the toothpick down, turn the oven off, make sure you turn your oven off. And we're going to let that sit there for about 15 minutes. And then when that 15 minutes is up, we'll take it out and see how easy it comes out or how hard it comes out or if it worked. Alright, I'll be back in a second. Alright, so we let it cool for its 15 minutes. Now we'll just go down here to the counter, and some of you got a good view. And take her out and see what happens. We're just going to let this cool down. Not necessarily, I mean, it could let it cool down to room temperature, but at least warm enough that it's edible, because it's not quite there yet, but it's close. And I don't know if you'll be able to see it or not, but see how it has broke away from the edges right there? You know, on the sides? Not a lot, but it has. What we're gonna do is we're gonna run this spatula down just to make sure nothing's stuck. Yeah, is what we're looking for. Yeah, don't want sticky sides. We know we got the parchment paper on the bottom, so that shouldn't stick. But we want to make sure we got it good, and it feels pretty good. And then we'll just take it, flip it over. Look at that, popped right out, all one piece, looking good. Take that glove off, pull this parchment paper off. Look at that, that's beautiful. Yeah, that bottom is just gorgeous. And then we'll flip it back over, and we're just going to let it cool a little bit longer. Maybe about, I don't know, 20 minutes, 30 minutes. So that way it's just nice and warm. And then we'll try a piece. Alright, I'll be right back. So we let it sit and cool. It's just a little warm. You know, nothing major. Just, yeah, you can touch it, but you can feel it's a little warmer than the air temperature. And we're going to go ahead and get us a piece cut here. That's so soft. It's funny the things you learn baking. Yeah. Oh, steady line of chocolate chips. Yeah. tab real quick. Sorry, new roll. Ah. Technical difficulties. Yeah, when you wipe your knife, if you're going to insist on putting your hand like this, like I do, turn the blade away from you. Because you don't want to accidentally cut yourself. Oh, it's beautiful. I promise I'm not going to eat both pieces. But there we are. And see that line right there? That's just the chocolate chips, the milk chocolate chips that were white colored instead of dark chocolate. Right there, and see they melted just fine. And that other piece, and you can see the walnuts through them. It's absolutely beautiful. Let's try it. Let's try it. I know it looks great. My whole house smells amazing. I'm so excited to try these. And unlike most people in the world, I like the end piece. Wow. That's awesome. Just awesome. The chocolate and banana is so balanced, it's ridiculous. So, try this. Try this recipe. This thing is off the hook. It's good. Let me know if you do. Let me know if you changed it up a little bit. There's a couple different things we could change. It'd be interesting to try with different chocolate chips in it. But let me know if you do try it. Let me know if you did something different. I'd be curious to know, because that's amazing, just like that, all day long. Yeah. So, that being said, next week I have no idea what we're going to do, no idea what we're going to bake or cook, or talk about for that matter. But we'll figure it out. So, next Wednesday. All right, I love you. Next Wednesday, I don't know what, like I said, we're going to cook, but we'll do dinner. Thursday, we'll do dessert. And yeah, I love you. I love you very much. I mean that from the bottom of my heart. Tell somebody else you love them and you love them very much. Make them some of this bread. Friend for life, guaranteed. All right, I'll talk to you next week. I love you. Be safe. Bye.